I'm a big believer in the idea that you don't always need non-technical co-founder, and you can definitely do it with just technical folks. I think someone who can code can learn to do business things relatively quickly.
Do you find that it's probably more reasonable for a founder to come from the technical side and learn the business skills, as you're saying, than for the business person to learn the technical side of things?
Most definitely. I think it's kind of like true
Yeah.
across the board, even for early hires. It's if it's possible to do, it's great to hire a programmer to do sales when you're really early. Because there's like so many things that are going on in regards to building the product that it's super helpful to have technical ability to like fix your own problems and work on the product when it's a blocker. Well, even if you're just doing sales.
The beauty of building a startup.
The beauty of building startups is that you get to make these like actual connections and like with people that you wouldn't like with Jake from Outlier DB, like I know that guy now. I would count him as like more than a regular acquaintance, and it's all just because I took the time to, you know, be a human. Like if it's not worth doing manually, it's probably not a worthwhile business. Uh,
Yeah,
and
because you're gonna figure out what works, what doesn't work, and by that time you're gonna be changing the automation all the time. And the time you spend building the automation and testing it out is gonna be more costly than it is like beneficial. So
it removes the magic. Like I think there's like a real magic to start your own business, like communicating with people that you would have no right to if you were an employee somewhere else. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, like all of a sudden, like now that you're like a founder, like doing this like weird entrepreneurial nonsense thing, you have like some credibility to reach out to a guy like Jake with your with your really shitty product and business at the time. Um,
Yeah.
and there's a magic in that. There's like a real magic in like uh in freedom in the fact that you're no longer like working for Facebook.
Cool. So welcome to a new episode of the Thinking Tech Podcast. I'm here with Nick Khami, co-founder and CEO of Trieve. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Did I pronounce your name right, by the way? Khami?
Right enough. I think there's like
Yeah.
Khami, Cami, either one.
Wonderful. So you originally did a bachelor's of science and were a full stack engineer by trade. Is that right?
That is right. That's what I was doing before starting Trieve and after college.
Okay, and then now you co-founded Trieve, so you've been with YC now for the past year, and now based in San Fran.
Yeah. So like after I graduated in 2.5 years from UT Austin with a CS degree. And then after that, I was working at a company called Nelnet, where I was on a payment processing team doing ACH and credit card. And I quit that to start trying to pursue Tree, which was first called ArgueFlow. Built the
I
business
like
up
Trieve
for,
better.
yeah, me too, me too. Built the business up for about like a year and then applied to YC and was able to get in.
Cool, yeah, because the deadline for the summer one just passed like 2 days ago.
It did,
So
yeah, just
yeah,
ended.
nice. I suppose you're going to be going back to the Y Combinator alum events and the yearly things they have there sometimes now.
Yeah, man, they're like really fun events when they have them. It's like a cool community that they've created for sure.
Great. So I'd love to go more into like the ecosystem in San Fran, how YC was, but first, like if you could give an overview of what Trieve does specifically and what problem you guys solve.
Yeah, if you go to a lot of websites, there's going to be a little search magnifying glass icon that exists on the site frequently for like large blog and content sites, companies that have large blogs or e-commerce stores. And we make that search bar better by using AI to return more relevant results, as well as to have a more chat like experience where there's an agent that you can kind of talk to who can do like tasks for you. Like you can ask it to find you something. It'll go through the content catalog available on that store or website to find you what you're looking for. Um, it's a better
Okay,
search experience for websites.
yeah. Yeah, I saw a good example on the website. It was like a shoe store or something, and then you ask it, is it good for a mid strike or how is this for a certain kind of feet? And I suppose it can really help guide you to the right model if you have the right information, right?
Yeah, like the point is to try to replicate the experience of having a human at a retail associate, like guide you through whatever's available in the store.
That's cool. That's cool. Do you imagine one day that we'll have that, but like autonomous retail agents in stores in real life too?
I don't know, maybe it's possible. I think yeah, one day I could definitely see it happening.
Yeah, it'll take a while for sure. But how did you first decide on the idea of Trieve? I'm sure it must have changed a little bit along the way. What was that first kind of? Because you said you quit your job to start this. What was that pivot like? Why did you do it?
So when we were starting, we had a company called ArgueFlow, like I mentioned before, and ArgueFlow is meant to be a search tool for litigators. Whenever you litigate a case, you go through this process called discovery, and during discovery, the opposing side, whether you're the plaintiff or the defendant, will provide a lot of documents to you, and you then have to go through all those documents. We started out by providing a search engine for that use case during litigation, and that was called ArgueFlow. And building the search for that product was really painful and annoying, but we felt that we learned a lot and got a lot better at it and had keyed in on something that other people would want to use as infrastructure as well, which is what
Hmm.
birthed the idea of Tree. And then we decided that that was a better business, applied to YC, saying we wanted to pivot, and then got into YC and did that.
And how long were you doing ArgueFlow for?
About a year, full
Okay.
time for 4 months.
Right. So you like started to phase out of your job while you were working on it, and I suppose you saw the potential, or at least maybe gained a bit of traction, and then decided to go full time.
Yeah. So what actually happened is we had applied for this grant from a
Yeah.
nonprofit that was based out of Austin, which is where we were going to college, called FUTO, FUTO, FUTO.org. And FUTO was like the grant setup was basically we got 20 grand per person to work full time on your idea for 3 months. So
Hmm.
that was once we got that grant, we decided that was enough to like quit our jobs and give it a real shot. So that's when we really went full time.
Sick, sick. And you were, I suppose, the technical co-founder in this role.
We're both really technical. I'm actually the less
Okay.
technical one of the two of us, but
Okay.
I'm still
Interesting.
very, very technical.
And so, how did you guys kind of manage that? Was there ever a need for more of a business background? Because you're saying you're the less technical, so I guess you're more on the client side of things, or is that something that you guys both shared as well?
I definitely do a larger portion of the client side stuff, but we both myself and my co-founder Denzel do client stuff. One of our very early hires, Federico, probably does more than either one of us. Um, yeah, but like I think I'm a big believer in the idea that you don't always need non-technical co-founder, and you can definitely do it with just technical folks. I think someone who can code can learn to do business things relatively quickly.
Do you find that it's probably more reasonable for a founder to come from the technical side and learn the business skills, as you're saying, than for a business person to learn the technical side of things?
Most definitely. I think it's kind of like true
Yeah.
across the board, even for early hires. It's if it's possible to do, it's great to hire a programmer to do sales when you're really early. Because there's like so many things
Hmm.
that are going on in regards to building the product that it's super helpful to have technical ability to like fix your own problems and work on the product when it's a blocker. Well, even if you're just doing sales.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I guess if the right profile comes up, because a lot of technical people sometimes can also be too technical, and they go, they overvalue the details, and they don't actually end up, you know, being as efficient in the non-technical realm. But
hundred
I
percent.
guess
It's
you
like,
get used to it.
yeah, I mean, like honestly, it's kind of what I'm saying. It's like people,
Yeah.
I think that a lot of technical people don't, who are not founding or founders actually like don't want the responsibility of carrying up business KPIs. So they're not going to be a good fit for a business role. But if it's possible to find one that wants to make that transition and care, um, in my opinion, it's like always better to hire programmers or people with programming experience when you can.
Hmm.
They can unblock
Yeah.
themselves at a higher frequency.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. You kind of fix your own problems and stuff. And I suppose for you, because you had to learn a lot of these skills on the job, I'm guessing. You were mentioning KPIs and like founder talk as well. And did you have specific mentors that really showed you those sources? What sources did you seek out? How did you learn those non-technical tools? Did you just like dive in and then figure shit out?
Honestly, like I think some of the like more interesting points that I feel like I had being not having like a background doing sales. Um, like you get your first customer and they want a document called an MSA, a master services agreement. And you're like, what the hell is an MSA? So and like getting then they want like they want you to sign like a security brief or like fill out a
Hmm.
security disclosure or something similar. And it's kind of just like a lot of these legal RFP or legal documents that have to do with procurement when you're working with another
Hmm.
business that are definitely intimidating when you're first getting started. It's like you've never done anything like this before. They're asking you for documents and like acronyms you don't actually know or understand. And it's definitely intimidating to get it all set up. Um, Going through Y Combinator was somewhat helpful. I feel like they give you a lot of resources, but more than anything, we found this product called Common Paper early in our development of the company. And Common Paper basically has a set of templates for all of the major document types that you would want to have. And you can use Common Paper to build those out in a professional looking way with some assuredness that whatever the end output is will be professional and like look right to the
Hmm.
procurement team you're dealing with. And that was a big lifesaver. Like just having common paper to do all that kind of stuff. Um, More than the KPIs, that's the stuff that's like more confused, like more difficult. Cause like if you fail to hit a
Yeah,
KPI, it's kind of private. Like you're not publicly embarrassed. But if you're it's
you
more
actually had to
embarrassing.
understand it. Yeah.
Yes. It's definitely more embarrassing to like convince someone to buy your product than not be capable of getting the deal to close because you don't know how to fill
Yeah.
out documents.
That's good. I mean, I guess you just have to learn on the job and figure it out along the way.
Yeah,
Um, and
definitely.
and and you coming from a CS degree, I just finished mine as well.
Congrats, man. It's
Um,
awesome.
Thank you, thank you. I wanted to ask, like, what are your thoughts on, the CS 4-year degree and its applicability? Oftentimes it's often viewed as very theoretical and depending on obviously the curriculum and the institution. But personally, I'm not convinced that it's as applicable as you'd like it to be for, building projects and even in the real work environment, even if it's not building a startup. What are your thoughts on that versus perhaps boot camp, learning yourself? Um, is 4 years worth it?
Um, hmm. I think 4 years, I think a CS degree is hard. It's a blend of an art degree or like I guess it is a BS degree. It's a blend of a science degree and a practical engineering degree.
Hmm.
But the real battle is, I think, unlike any other major degree, it's really kind of on you to develop the skills that you would need for a software engineering role while you're in school. So you have the burden of coursework while simultaneously like, being tasked with self-piloting your own personal blog and side projects in a way
Yeah.
that I don't think you have for like any other degree that's technical. I mean, it, art students have a similar thing, right? 'Cause you have to develop like a portfolio design and like do gallery shows while you're in college. But it's more worked into the degree and like I think it's understanding like professors and faculty have those kind of programs. Whereas with the CS degree, it's like yeah, it's the universities don't have like understanding of how much time that takes, and they don't seem to make the curriculum function in such a way that you have it's easy to like merge the two. You can use
Yeah.
class projects for your portfolio or like or the course requirements setting up a personal blog and things like that. And I think that makes
Yeah.
it really really hard um to do. But if you can like toe the line and develop a personal portfolio and you know skills that would look good to software engineering companies during the degree, along with completing the coursework, I think it is probably worth it. Um,
Hmm.
I definitely don't think boot camps are worth it today. Like I don't think that like the stamp of approval from a boot camp gets you very far uh currently. And like at least for the
Hmm.
degree, you have something that is a little bit more intrinsically valuable. Uh
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a good
No,
summation.
no, I agree. I agree on most fronts, but also the degree isn't like it's just not just the degree. Like you do 4 years. Personally, like I switched majors after like a year or two, and so I suppose like that's also an advantage. You have a bit more time to, if it's a flexible program, to kind of see what you like to do and all these things. So it doesn't like launch you directly into the workforce without, taking a bit of time. But then once you are stuck in that first 2 years, then you can't really do a U-turn unless unless you do like a big change. But yeah, like what advice would you have then for students trying to manage the two? They want to do the courses, but at the same time build the projects on the side. How do they not like? What did you do to not burn yourself out and still have time for the two?
I don't know. I don't feel like I did a very good job. It somehow worked out for me, but I feel like I did a bad job piloting it. My major suggestion would be like, don't start your own projects. Like, particularly, don't try to build your own things from scratch. Um, if there are companies, like a general category of company that you're interested in working for, find an open source code base that is analogous and like well known and would be impressive to contribute to, and try to get a commit into that code base. For example, it'd be like very, very impressive if you had a commit in React, or if you had a commit in Kafka, or if you had a commit in Redis. And like all these things are actually possible for you to do. And they show not only that you have the technical ability to implement something, but also that you have the communication abilities and like political savvy to negotiate with the maintainers to actually get your commit merged. Um,
Hmm.
and my general advice would be to like really try hard to do that. Try to join the community of some open source project that you're impressed by or that you think would be impressive to a future employer, and just get code of yours contributed into that. Um, and you may end up getting hired at a company that maintains the code base, but it'll also just look good when you're applying on places, and it'll make for a great story to tell at the interview.
For sure, for sure. Interesting advice. Yeah, I usually hear the opposite when they say build your own projects and build a nice little portfolio of a bunch of case studies or coding projects to demonstrate some competency. But the
That's
code,
not a bad idea, but I feel like it's really easy to it's really hard to like produce something polished
mm,
uh
especially
end to
nowadays
end.
too.
Say again?
Especially nowadays with now Bolt and Lovable and everything, you can make a nice front end and it doesn't take a
I would
lot a
say it's
lot.
easier. I think that stuff makes it easier, but it's still hard to like get. I think Bold and Lovable, like all the AI code generation tools make it a lot easier for sure, in my opinion. It's just
For sure, for sure.
but there's still a lot of room to get stuck in that process. And it's also like much less, it's much more difficult to a lot of times like that work is more reminiscent of what a consultant would do than what a software
Mm,
engineer would do. And you're putting yourself on like on very much like a binary, I'm gonna found a company at the end of this, or I'm gonna really struggle to get a job. And it's very, very high risk to like
yeah,
build your own products from 0 to 1. Whereas it's comparably lower risk to it's I think it's probably simultaneously less work and lower risk to get commits in to popular open source projects, because like the like you don't have to do much, right? You have to like write one feature, submit
yeah,
it, and get it merged.
yeah,
And it looked better to employers in most cases. Um, and it's less work. And it's like
for sure, for sure. No,
most software engineering jobs are not going to be web development. And like the ones that are typically not very high paying. Um, so it's like it's kind of you're kind of shooting for Upwork or Founder, and I
Yeah.
think it's generally bad.
But it's a good it's good to have that in mind, right? Like what's really the end goal like of trying to do these commits and trying to do these projects? Are you trying to be a software engineer? Or are you trying to be a founder? But then I guess to manage the two, you can do a bit of both. You can do maybe some hackathons on the weekends, and that way you don't spend like 6 months building a product that nobody's gonna use. So it's a balance, I guess. But yeah,
Or
the
contribute to some startup projects. Like instead of
yeah,
contributing to the like maybe that like to me that'd be the real balance, right? Like Trieve is source available. If you want the startup experience, like maybe try contributing to Trieve. Or
yeah.
there's a great platform out there called Algora, Algora.io. And on
Okay.
Algora, you can find mostly startups that put up these bounties for like a few $100s for you to implement some feature in their code base. And that can be a good mix because you're getting the experience, like you're not having to build a full thing. You just have to do like one feature, but you're also going to be doing something that's closer to what a startup would experience. So you can get some
Hmm.
of that startup feel out of it. Um,
For sure, for sure.
yeah. And I think that like, and then hackathons are also great. Um, and they're lower stress. It's like you,
Yeah,
honestly,
that's the thing.
I also think that like you can, if you're really determined to be a founder, you can get a few commits out of the way. You can contribute to Redis, you contribute to like whatever you want to contribute to. And that's kind of like checking a box of justifying to yourself that you can try to build your own longer thing now. Because whether
Mm,
you win or lose at doing that, you have like the right stuff in your portfolio to get a job at the end, regardless. And I
yeah.
think it's very, very important to de-risk like that. It's like a good way to avoid panic and burnout and like super high stress.
No, that's good advice, but yeah, you hear often that, founder stories is no plan B, it's just straight plan A. Was that kind of on your mind as well with Trieve? I guess like you were slowly building up to doing that with Trieve, but I guess, with the grants and so on, it was never purely a plan A.
No, it was never on my mind. I did not want to do that. I did not want to
Yeah.
have like this absolutely like has to work type of situation. I think even the tech stack that we chose with Tree is something that we did intentionally to like learn new skills. Like we built the
Mm,
front end in Solid.js instead of React, partially just to like learn that. We knew it was like a more choice framework, and there's some more like niche or it was like good to learn because it shows that you have like more diversity. And I think it was going to look good to potential employers, even if we fail. We built the back end in
mm,
Rust, like a similar idea. We wanted to pick up Rust. It's a high paying, like trending skill. There's more and more jobs for, and just seemed like a good thing to do, um, to build that up. Like, you know, we, we used all open source components for the tech stack, like for the sake of trying to build up experience them because we know there can be resume bullets. And I think that
mhm.
it was definitely always on our mind, like how do we make sure that if this doesn't work, we're going to be in a good like landing position um at the end. And honestly, like one of the cool parts about doing a startup is that a lot of times, like whenever you have a job, the job limits you in terms of what technologies you can use. Like it may be
Mhm.
the case that your job doesn't have a use case for Kafka, but you really want to learn Kafka because like the jobs that you want to go to next, require that as a resume skill. And doing your own startup or side project can both be a way to like build a business, like try your hand at being an entrepreneur, but also pick up a skill that you want to have. Um,
Mhm.
it gives you like the freedom to use whatever kind of technology you want, like if you want to get really good at using clay, like that's your thing, and you want to move into a job that requires clay experience, then your own startup can be your way to learn to get good at clay while still being productive. And I'm a big
Yeah.
proponent of that. I think it's a great way to de-risk.
That's a great way because you're not just like it's not just hedging your bets because you're keeping, the potential of, going well with the startup at the same time you're learning the skill, upskilling yourself. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Tim Ferriss talks about this and how like you evaluate certain things you go into based on even if it doesn't work, what skills will I learn out of it and will that
Yeah,
be worth it pretty much. So I suppose
that's
for
fair
you,
advice.
Treve was yeah, learning the tech stack. It's a great mentality, and I'll try to keep that in mind as well for myself.
Yeah, I gotta like read a little bit. I haven't engaged a lot with Tim Ferriss's stuff, so that's like a good excuse for me to try to look into it. I don't know. Sounds like he has a good opinion there.
Yeah, it was like a summary video of something he said, so it's definitely not word for word, but it's along those lines.
I think it's good general advice. I definitely think that it's honestly, I think a lot of that, like, a lot of it will help people to better company too, because like a lot of our customers, ironically, I think are workflow builders. Like they build their agents on top of Trieve using software like NNN or Make or like
Hmm.
similar things. Um, and if your primary goal is just to figure out whether or not your idea is going to be profitable and make money, I think that is probably the best way to go. But if your goal is to like raise venture capital and kind of like build a moonshot business, I definitely think it's a better idea to try and do it low surge the way a large company would.
Hmm.
I think it'll help you like stumble in the right direction or like create a pit of success. It's easier to be successful whenever you're using more industry standard tooling than like no code tooling. I think it just like
Hmm.
leaves you like increases your odds. If you keep going, you'll eventually stumble into the right situation.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like Next.js and all these standardized languages which are used are not going to go anywhere anytime soon, probably. So if you use them, then at least there's no risk that you're really putting on the business. But I suppose it's
You can also
sorry,
recruit people to help you. I think is like
yeah.
probably the thing I wasn't mentioning. It's like if you're using Next.js, there's a lot of very experienced Next.js developers out there, and you're giving yourself the opportunity to like once you raise capital or like get traction, bring on people to help. Whereas if you build the
Hmm.
whole thing and then it end, like it's going to be much more difficult to
It's a lot more
hire, and
niche. Yeah.
it's a lot more niche, and like it's very productive for a solopreneur. Um, but it sets you up for like this difficult situation of like trying to hire people because like people are not there's not a lot of people that want jobs to use that end because it's primarily like an entrepreneur's tool, and
Yeah.
simultaneously there's not a lot of programmers that want to work with it. Like it's because they want to pick up more industry skills and things like that.
Yeah. So I guess this is a great pivot to Trieve's vision in the future and what you're trying to build over there. What's the vision for Trieve in the next, few months, few years? Where's them, or where are they really in the industry? Like helping out all the Shopify resellers, integrating in all the developer workflows. What do you guys envision?
Yeah, so it's like around 20,000 or so Shopify stores that
Hmm.
maybe more that are like pulling in 10K or more monthly active visitors. And at that threshold, like you have a good use case for Trieve. So our
For
goal for the
sure.
next quarter or maybe 2 quarters is going to be to provide like our improved search and conversational discovery, like Gen AI functionality to these Shopify stores that have enough monthly active visitors to where it'll make a material impact on their business.
Hmm. And what to get an idea of the actual impact on the business, like on average for a user of Trieve who has, I guess, 10K a month users coming into the store, what impact does it have on their business? I guess it depends on the type, but on average.
A 0.7% lift to
Hmm.
top line revenue um, is the typical impact,
Okay. Okay, interesting.
which for e-commerce is really good.
I mean, it's huge,
Yeah.
especially if you're selling like, well, it depends what kind of products you're selling too, but I mean, you're currently doing like a chat-based system. Do you envision adding additional functionality as well? Maybe like direct voice-to-voice interaction, and then maybe like augmented reality with the product. You can kind of look at it too. Obviously, you would probably develop it internally, but what is the future Shopify store gonna look like?
It has, first of all, it has regular search. So it makes like the regular old keyword search function a little bit better. But then we offer voice input. So you can use your
Okay,
voice to search and then also image search. So like if you're looking
okay.
for a shirt and you have a picture of a similar shirt that you like already, you can just upload that and it'll, do an image to image analysis. It'll also do image generation. So like if you upload a photo of yourself, you can ask the AI like the shoes in the webpage. You could put a photo of your like legs and you could say, hey, can I see what I would look like wearing the shoes? And then it'll generate you back a response of like you wearing the shoes. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Have
it
you guys gotten
does.
like, did you guys store the images? Like, I'm sure you have like a bunch of feed pics in that case or something.
We don't have a shoe store yet, so no feed pics at the moment.
Yeah.
Right now, like our biggest stores, this they sell primarily like whiskey and bourbon. They're called Flaviar.
Okay.
Um, FLAVIAR.com. And people buy like whiskey and bourbon and things like that there. So we got some bourbon enjoyer photos, people that are looking for bottles.
Hmm. And so how do you ensure, because in the search functionality, I guess accuracy is one of the bigger questions. How do you
Yep.
make sure that the accuracy comes back up? Is it just a simple RAG system? What are you guys really building?
The bones are a simple RAG system, and Trieve
Yeah.
makes RAG really easy. Like I think we offer an API where you can build RAG um, more simply. But we do some other really cool stuff that I like. So let's say you're doing a search and get 10 results back from the search. We take the query and each result and we make like 10 pairs of strings, right? So you have like query result, query result, query result.
Yeah.
And then we feed each one of those pairs to a function call with an LLM. And the parameters of that function is like how relevant it is. So it'll be high, medium, or low relevance. And we let the LLM like pull the function to effectively grade the relevance of how good the result is. And we'll only show results that are highly relevant as rated by the AI.
Okay. And do you guys also do like online search, like web searching?
No, we don't do web searching. It's only on site or within a particular site or knowledge base.
Yeah, it makes more sense. That way you have like a limited knowledge base and you just base it on that.
Yeah, man, I don't want to compete with Google. That stuff is
Yeah.
really hard.
Well, what do you think of the future of like search SEO? There's a lot of talk about now that agents are crawling on the web and people are using ChatGPT or LLMs just to do their search. That websites are gonna have to look very different. And you know, the content of website, people don't actually go into them. The scraper for the LLM just kind of takes all the information, summarizes into a nice little prompt. What are your thoughts on the on that transformation?
I think that I don't. I think traditional SEO is like going to be remain the same. Like I foresee that backlinks and domain
Hmm.
authority or like yeah area of expertise and all that kind of like normal stuff you have for SEO. I don't think that's changing anytime soon. What I think will change is like I think content quality is going to be a bigger signal than it currently is. Um, if you can give the agents some piece of information that is original and not present elsewhere in their data set, or maybe like a strong opinion about something that's well evidenced and researched in terms of
Yeah.
blog or video content, that will be more important than it currently is. Because it'll give like the AI something to chew on.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the other issue or trend is that there's a lot more AI generated content being produced, and there's some theories that say that eventually there's going to be so much generated content that we can't even store it. Have you heard about this futuristic, a bit dystopian scenario? Or
I think that like it's kind of a misunderstanding of what the LLMs do. Like if I think the hard part remains like creating the like okay, people talk about prompting in the sense of like, you know, uh doing crazy stuff like telling the LLM that your mom's gonna die if it doesn't give you the right stuff back. That
yeah.
kind of prompting. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking more about like providing it with a direction or a topic to generate about. And if you're feeding it with a set of bullet points that contains like original information or pieces of evidence that you collected through like your own methodology, like I don't know, I just think of like a basic product review for a phone. Like if you bought the phone, got it shipped to you, and then measure how responsive the microphone was, like did some testing and figured out how good the noise isolation was, what the screen brightness was. You tested the battery, in your own
Hmm.
scenario of like using, maps or something like that that would drain it
Hmm.
fast. And you took like that data and you provided it to the LLM in a prompt and wrote an article. I don't think that that the LLM is degrading the quality of that content at all. Because like the actual valuable portion of it is like the testing you did.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm actually like bullish and excited for the fact that we'll get more high quality content because now the only thing you really have to do is collect the data or assemble the citations. And it's not as important that you have to like write the final thing, which
Yeah. Yeah.
to me makes like the kind of monotonous chore of like assembling it into a nice blog um easier. And my hope and kind of like what I think will happen is that there's even more people that are willing to collect the citation and materials and like data. And it's not that like AI even helps with that bit, like stuff like deep research and things. I mean, it can, if you have an original idea for what you want deep research to do, anyone can do it now. You don't have to have the budget to hire an analyst. So I'm also excited about the fact that people who have like interesting ideas and theories about the way things work or um,
Hmm.
how things could work better are going to have the capacity to like find the information and assemble the content in a way they couldn't before.
Yeah, no, for sure. The deep research, like functionality in general, I think gives so much um, capability and power to just the layman, and you can now do an entire like analysis on some topic you want to look into. And before, you obviously had to hire like some kind of analyst and had to get reached out to them and transmit your idea and everything. So that's another topic too. The concept of an analyst and now being replaced with agents and these agentic frameworks. And there's a lot of risks that people are discussing. Yoshua Benju actually released a new paper as well on the risks of agentic frameworks and how it could undermine like human control in general. Do you guys use personally like a lot of agentic frameworks, and what are your thoughts on the future of those implemented in business and for personal use as well?
I mean, like we don't use any frameworks, but I definitely think that like agentic workflows are super cool and valuable. Um,
Yeah.
I think that like the idea like the agents are going to go off and complete some task for you is a little bit too high level of a description of what that would be to be useful to think about. Like if you take that example of like an AI shopper, um, I don't think that you're going to tell an agent, hey, go buy me 11 shirts in different colors that are all size small with like a slim fit cut. And the AI is going to go out there and like buy you 11 shirts. Like, I think that
Yeah.
is a little bit of a stretch. What I think is more
Hmm.
realistic is that the AI will be able to look at, 1,000 shirts that are showing up in the Google shopping result, take the criteria you provided to it, and then grade whether or not the product would be a good fit. And like kind of
Hmm.
output you a sheet, like a nice little spreadsheet of all the products that thinks were good with like an easily assembled link for you to click on and verify or like ultimately press the add cart button. Um, so my thinking on like where agents are going and what they'll do could be much more of data labelers or data assemblers than they
Hmm.
will be
Like action takers in a way.
action takers. Yeah, like I think that it automates like what you would have a associate level employee do.
Yeah.
And it doesn't automate what an executive would do. And like I think I'm saying employee, but more like what like if you
Yeah.
take your life and break it up to like associate and executive tasks, it'll automate the
Yeah.
associate ones really well. And then hopefully free us up to do more executive thinking, which
For sure.
I think is exciting. And
I
people
think
are
it's
just
cool.
they're going too far with like I think like if I think the almost all the examples people have for agents are correct. They're explained in a way where it's like very task driven. And I think if you just go n minus one to like what the task is and explain the output in the form of like a
Hmm.
data
Hmm.
assembly, it becomes a lot more clear to think about and reason about and both build and find the best use cases for in like our own verticals.
Yeah, I like that idea of taking it all the way to the task and then just taking one step back and not making the decision of taking that task. It's also that kind of human in the loop idea of just keeping the responsibility at the human level. Then you obviously have some questions with like what choices and what like tasks that AI actually brings you up. There's some nuances there, but like I think in general it's much more I'm much more optimistic than I am pessimistic about the idea of agents doing scheduling my meetings and like doing stuff in general.
But like the idea that agent is gonna go through your prospect list
Yeah.
and figure out who meets your criteria and who doesn't, like that's almost the same thing, but it feels much more realistic.
hmm hmm
Somehow, like that very small distinction to me makes a very big difference um, in thinking.
Yeah, no, of course. I also want to go back really quick to the Trieve and building it early on. I want to get an idea of was it like the typical like 100-hour weeks and grinding it out when you were applying for YC and getting the first client? Can you take me through like the founder story there and the first like how did you get the first client?
Yeah. Our first client was actually this really cool guy named Jake who runs a YouTube channel called Outlier DB. Outlier
Okay.
DB is a jujitsu channel. He basically like watches a lot
Oh
of
shit.
jujitsu videos and makes analytics about it. I don't even do jujitsu. I'm just kind of like I was a fan of the sport at the time. There was like a bunch of cool like content and storylines coming out of it that made me like want to watch.
I used to watch
Um,
this guy.
yeah, you know what I'm talking.
He
Yeah,
tags
right.
all his videos with like what position. Yeah, I was almost a client for them.
Okay, so you should, by the way, Outlier DB is like amazing. That's the actual
No, it
product
was
he
honestly,
makes.
I just didn't take jujitsu seriously enough. But if I was like doing it more often, then I would definitely look into their thing.
Yeah, let's go. So like that was the first Trieve customer. Outlier DB under the
No
hood
way.
uses Trieve for its search. And they even have like an AI chat experience that uses Trieve via API. And that was the first customer.
hmm
And we got that customer because I saw he was making the product on YouTube and I joined his Discord and I sent him and his co-founder a DM telling them that we'd love to help support by making Trieve work for them. And they agreed to do it. I think it was some like token amount. It was like $20 a month or $50 a month or something. And yeah, they were the first customer. And that's how it happened. It happened like via Discord.
Like, so were you going around all these discords, or was it just like somebody that you came across? Like, what was your?
It was just that one guy. Like
Yeah,
I did not have some Discord strategy. I just shot a dart at this one
yeah.
opportunity and it worked. Um, and I
That's
think like
great.
that's
Yeah.
actually the best way. I think that like, you know, I think people who are early stage, like just starting a business, like start with the automations on day one. And I'm really anti like automating anything before you get like your first 100 customers. Like if it's not worth doing manually, it's probably not a worthwhile business. Um,
Yeah,
and
because you're gonna figure out what works, what doesn't work, and by that time you're gonna be changing the automation all the time. And the time you spend building the automation and testing it out is gonna be more costly than it is like beneficial. So
it removes the magic. Like I think there's like a real magic to starting your own business, like communicating with people that you would have no right to if you were an employee somewhere else. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, like all of a sudden, like now that you're like a founder, like doing this like weird entrepreneurial nonsense thing, you have like some credibility to reach out to a guy like Jake with your just a really shitty product and business at the time. Um,
Yeah.
and there's a magic in that. It's like a real magic in like uh and freedom in the fact that you're no longer like working for Facebook. Because if you're working at Facebook, like what are you doing? Like you work at like what? Like you work at Facebook and you're making a voice agent? Like what?
You're
What's
you're you're
happening
fixing a
here?
button on the page. You're making it blue.
I'm maybe not doing that. Maybe we're doing some cool stuff at Facebook. Like maybe you're
I'm
making the new
sure. I'm
llama
sure.
models. Like I'm actually not trying to say working at Facebook is bad. I'm just saying it's lower agency. And you know, once you take like a jump into like building your own product and offering your own thing, you like now have this credibility to um reach out to people and ask if they want to use it. And if you automate that, then you're really like taking away a lot of the joy.
Yeah, I mean. the whole human aspect of it.
Yeah.
So
And yeah, I think
sucks.
that's like that's part of the magic. Like part of the magic is like sending this email or this like Discord DM that you never expect to get a response and then making a sale. And like that's a lot that's where I think a lot of the early energy comes in. And this kind of like mindset of automating to me is like really dark. It's like it's seeing life
Hmm.
as like a zero sum game where if you send out 10,000 messages with a 0.1% response rate and you're selling a product worth $10,000, you're going to make 10 grand. And it's like this really, I think it's very dark and like not the right place to be mentally when you're starting a company. And you'd much rather
Hmm.
be in a place of like, oh, if I care a lot and I'm really earnest and kind and human, and I send out 10 messages, I'm going to get one reply. Uh,
Yeah.
that's like, and I think you want to start there and then become jaded and do the automations as time goes on.
Yeah. No, of course. And then there's also so many things you can't really control. And like those 10,000 messages you send out, you don't really even know if you're going to get a 0.1% reply rate. And so I
and,
guess
and yeah, and what if you
learning,
missed a cool person?
yeah,
Like, what if you miss a guy that you might actually become like you would have been friends with, but you just sent him a shitty automated message instead?
yeah, the beauty of building a startup.
The beauty of building startups is that you get to make these like actual connections and like with people that you wouldn't other like with Jake from Outlier DB. Like I know that guy now. I would count him as like a more than a regular acquaintance, and it's all just because I took the time to you know be a human.
And do you find that now that, or I guess you've automated some portion of your outreach or some portion of the marketing and sales, do you still do a bit of that personal and I guess when you like see people, of course, you tell them about what you do and that's kind of goes for it.
We're trying automations now for the first time ever, and I don't think
Okay.
we've figured out how to make them work yet. Um, yeah, I think it's like I actually just like don't want to automate. It's the fact that
No,
I don't
maybe it's
know,
the way to
like
go. Maybe it's the way to go. I
we're
mean, we always
trying
get
though.
these automatic sales DMs and about some products and if you send some nice, messages, maybe you send a selfie with it or something too.
I think we're trying. We're definitely trying to automate. I
Yeah.
think it's like we have to, uh, for sure. I don't think it's realistic that we're gonna do things completely manually at this point. But I wish we didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. And so automation, what else are you looking forward to in the next few months, for yourself and also for Trieve? What's some big plans coming up?
That website you saw just went live yesterday. It's brand new.
Oh,
It
no
has a bunch
way.
of problems. There's dead links everywhere. A lot of the border radiuses don't line up correctly. I think it's like
Yeah.
18 shades of purple instead of under two. Uh, so I'm looking forward to like
Okay, I didn't
polishing that
notice.
up.
So, oh yeah, there
Um,
is quite a few different shades of
yes,
purple.
there's quite a few different shades of purple and quite a few different button radiuses, and there's dead link throughout and stuff. The images are all ChatGPT generated.
Yeah.
If you scroll down a little bit, which is cute. Uh, and kooky, I think, for an AI company. But I'm looking forward to like it was a big effort to create a new site that wasn't like some standard stock template. And it also has like a CMS behind it, so it's more maintainable for like a marketing and SEO team. Um,
Mhm.
it's not so hacky. It's like actually, it's like a real company website now. In terms of framework, so there's like
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited to polish that
Yeah,
personally.
you didn't build it up on WordPress or something.
I actually would I'm actually
The
trying to
best.
say that I think building sites on WordPress is actually the better way to do
Yeah.
it long term. Building it like on Next.js is way easier
Interesting.
for a developer because you can have Lovable or Bolt make it. Um, but if you want to like hire SEO professionals and SEM professionals to do work for you, it's way easier for them to do their job whenever it's a WordPress site. This isn't a WordPress site, but it's very similar. We're using this thing called Key Static. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, it's impossible for like an SEO professional to help you if the site's in Next.js and all coded by hand. Like they can't do
Mhm.
anything. So it's if you had the site in WordPress, there's like more realistic odds that they could optimize your keywords and put up like blogs, like chase backlinks and stuff. Um, It's just way
Yeah.
harder to do that. It takes way more time in the beginning.
And you need like a proper developer. A lot of these SEO, I don't know exactly, but they don't actually code directly. They do maybe a lot of blog writing, maybe some visual design as well. But
So you need a CMS that way they don't have to code to add content to the
yeah.
site. Like you need ways for people that don't know how to code to
Mm.
add to leverage their skills on your behalf. So it's actually like it sounds stupid, but it's way better to have a WordPress site than a Next.js site for your landing page. Um,
Hmm.
maybe not
Hmm.
your app, but your landing page.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you can build it out quicker. You can also like change it up maybe a little bit faster.
Yeah, you don't have to like, commit to GitHub and run a
Yeah.
CI action.
No, for sure. And one last question I wanted to ask you is if you had like a giant billboard where you could put a message on it for essentially the whole world or millions of people to see, what would you put on that board? And it can be anything related to business, can be to Trieve, you can say buy Trieve or something. But what would you say?
Um, I don't even care. Maybe I just put like care,
Hey.
like yeah, like care about what you do. Try to care. Work can be more than exchanging time for money. Try to like do
Yeah,
something that you actually care about.
that's wonderful. We can tell that you care about Trieve and especially the way you got Jake, the first client as well. And I hope more startups in San Fran or in general are doing this, but I don't think so.
I think they are actually like one of the core tenets
You
of
think?
YC is this like phrase, do things that don't scale.
Mm,
Um, I think the spirit of that message is like close to what I was describing in terms of how we sold Jake. It's like just do the thing that doesn't scale. Uh,
hmm.
it's okay. Don't try to don't get caught up in the weeds of making everything super scalable from day one. Just like go out and do it and see what happens.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, I mean, thanks so much for your time. I don't want to take too much of it, but really appreciated the conversation.
Yeah. Cheers, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you.